The Cleveland Cavaliers got the most impressive win of the season tonight, and they didn't even need their starting lineup to do it. On today's show, we break down the Cavaliers' dominant performance over the Orlando Magic, plus preview a big-time playoff matchup between the Golden State Warriors and the Sacramento Kings tomorrow night at Golden One Center. Buckle up, Cavs and Kings fans. Let's ride!
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for an all-new episode of Let 'Em Know SK. This is the post-game reaction podcast of the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Sacramento Kings.
And welcome to episode 3 of Let 'Em Know SK, the post-game podcast reaction hub to the Cleveland Cavaliers and Sacramento Kings. This is a bonus episode because earlier on today, I recorded a preview of the Cavs and Magic game plus a recap of what happened with the Sacramento Kings losing to the Dallas Mavericks. If you haven't seen that episode, go ahead and check that out. So this is episode number 3, which is also a bonus episode. So you have 2 episodes for the price of 1 today. Before we get into it, I'm your host, I am Skylar Weisberg, and it is my honor and privilege of being your host. And you can find Let 'Em Know SK on Spotify, Stitcher, Radio Public, podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/CLESK. And I would also like to make a formal announcement that we are now available on Amazon Music and iHeartRadio. That's right. So you have 6 great platforms to listen to Let 'Em Know SK. They are Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Radio Public, Stitcher, Spotify, and podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/CLESK. It is 100% completely free, by the way, and we are also going to be available on a Google Podcast in the next coming days, so you will have 7 platforms and 7 chances to listen to these podcasts. Please rate, review, and spread the word out to your friends on every single platform that you listen to. I appreciate you guys, and thank you so much for doing that in advance. Well, I'm coming in on here on a really great mood because today, or as tonight, I should say, the Cleveland Cavaliers basically took care of business. They melly-walked the Orlando Magic tonight by a final score of 118-94. And what's crazy about this win for the Cleveland Cavaliers is we didn't even need our starting lineup to do it. I said coming into this game that we were going to win because I suspected we would have our starters of Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen in the game. Well, apparently JB Bickerstaff did not listen to the show, and apparently I completely got it wrong because we had a starting lineup of Ricky Rubio, Lamar Stevens, Dean Wade, Cedi Osman, and Robin Lopez tonight. I texted one of my friends who was also a Cleveland Cavalier fan, and basically I said to her, well, we're doomed. And I automatically assumed by that text that the Orlando Magic were going to win because here's what's crazy about, and I think it was absolute BS and it was absolute ludicrous, that the Orlando Magic were coming into this game as 10-point favorites. Some of you guys didn't really hear me, so let me say that one more time. The Orlando Magic were coming into this game as 10-point betting favorites. I mean, you can make an argument that the Cleveland Cavaliers were ultimately going to play their bench for this game. I didn't really know that coming in, and I automatically assumed that the Cavaliers were going to play their starting lineup, but we played our bench, and ultimately our bench literally took care of business as we routed the Orlando Magic. We smoked them. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. That first quarter, it was a little shaky. It was a little shaky for the most part because both teams played their benches, right? The Orlando Magic didn't even play their regulars either. So it wasn't like the second unit of the Cavs versus the starters for the Orlando Magic. It was like a battle of the second units tonight, and ultimately Cleveland won that battle. The Orlando Magic won the first quarter 42-33. And I was a little bit of a panic after that quarter, but I was like, I'm not even worried. I'm not even worried about this game. Win or lose, I would ultimately be proud no matter what, right? Because think of what Cleveland already accomplished. We already accomplished the playoffs. We already clinched the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference. We already clinched home court advantage against the New York Knicks in the first round of the playoffs, which, by the way, the playoffs are going to start on Saturday or Sunday. So once the playoff matchups are all set, I am probably going to do a special episode previewing both playoff matchups for the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Sacramento Kings, because as of right now, the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to play the New York Knicks in the first round of the playoffs. We don't know what the Sacramento Kings first round playoff matchup is, but what we do know is games 1 and 2 are going to be at Golden One Center, and it will be electric. The same way that the first round games of the playoffs for Cleveland will be at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. Now back to the game, a battle of the second units. Cleveland absolutely dominated tonight. They shot 52% from the field, 47% from the three-point line. They made 18 threes. Not a lot of production from the foul line, but they shot 89% from there. They only did like 9 attempts there. They out-rebounded them 42-39, so it was a 3-point rebounding difference. They had 31 assists tonight, 13 steals, 8 blocks, 46 points in the paint, 14 fast break points. The bench production, it was absolutely ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous that the bench production stat, I mean, what's the point of that when the majority of the bench already played? And I want to give credit to every single person who played for the Cavs tonight. We saw players like Danny Green, Isaiah Mobley, Robin Lopez, Mama Diakite, Cedi Osman, Raul Neto, among others. Every single Cleveland Cavalier that played on that floor tonight deserved a ton of credit, because as the game went on, it got really, really easy. And the second, third, and fourth quarters, it felt like the Cleveland starting lineup was already out there. It felt like Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen were in the game. And it was like full of flow. It was full of consistency. It was basically Cleveland doing their thing. And that's what you love to see. Cedi Osman with 19 points. He led all scorers. He dropped 4 threes tonight. He grabbed 5 rebounds and 4 assists. Danny Green was the leading scorer, with 21 points. He made 5 threes with 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 blocks. Get that weak stuff out of here, attaboy. Danny Green. Mamadi Diakite had 13 points. He had 8 rebounds, a steal, a block, and assist. Isaiah Mobley, who is Evan Mobley's brother, by the way, aka Lil Mo, he dropped 18 points with 8 rebounds, assists, a block, and a steal. He dropped 18 points and 4 rebounds, with 1 assist, 3 steals, and 2 blocks. Basically, it was a total team effort. Everybody contributed for Cleveland, and it was one of these games that I can be proud of as a Cleveland Cavalier fan. I can be proud of Cleveland's effort tonight because I didn't really expect Cleveland to win coming in. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I thought the Orlando Magic were going to win this game because I thought Orlando would ultimately play their starters. And since Cleveland was going to be playing the bench the whole time, I thought it was going to be some kind of trap game for Cleveland. But ultimately, that was not the case, as Cleveland came in here and simply took care of business. They outscored the Orlando Magic 34-15 in the second quarter and 28-16 in the third quarter. When you give up only 15 points in the second quarter, followed by a 16-point performance, 16-point giving up, I should say, in the third quarter. Now remember, the bench players played for Cleveland tonight. If this was their starting lineup, Cleveland would probably wipe the floor with the Orlando Magic, if I were honest with you. If Cleveland played their starters tonight, this wouldn't be a really close game at the first quarter. I would think if Cleveland played our starters tonight, we would ultimately win this game wire to wire. But that's neither here nor there. Cleveland deserves all the credit. No starters, no problem, as Cleveland dominates the Orlando Magic 118-94. Will they play the bench players again on Easter Sunday against Charlotte? I would after this performance. I would probably give their starters one more game of rest and then get ready for the New York Knicks come playoff time. So if I was JV Bickerstaff, play the bench unit against Charlotte this Sunday. They earn the minutes. They want reps. I say give it to them. We're going to take a quick break, but coming up next, we are going to preview the game of the year in the Western Conference as the Golden State Warriors and the Sacramento Kings get ready to battle it out tomorrow night at Golden One Center. That's coming up after the Welcome back to Let 'Em Know SK, the post-game podcast hub of the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Sacramento Kings. Well, the Sacramento Kings did not play tonight, but that does not mean I will give you a preview of the arguably best matchup of the Western Conference all year. Tomorrow night at the Golden One Center, we will see our Sacramento Kings with a record of 48-32, 23-17 at the Golden One Center, taking on the reigning, defending, undisputed NBA champion Golden State Warriors with a record of 42-38. But they are one of the worst teams in the NBA outside of the Chase Center with a 9-30 record on the road. Look, this is a battle of the NBA's top offensive teams. You have a Golden State Warriors team that averages a lot of points per game. Both teams average a lot of points. So if we're being honest with ourselves, if we look at the standings right now, by the way, one more stat for the Cleveland Cavaliers, just so you know. With the win tonight against the Orlando Magic, the Cleveland Cavaliers are 30-4 against teams below 500. That is the best record in the NBA against below 500 teams. That should be a trivia question. Now, when it comes to the matchup of the simply the Western Conference matchup of the year between the Golden State Warriors and the Sacramento Kings in an absolutely crucial Pacific Division matchup. The Sacramento Kings come in, average 121 points per game, the number one offense in the entire NBA. The Golden State Warriors are not that far behind, averaging 118 and a half points per game. The Kings give up 118 points per game, while the Golden State Warriors simply give up the same amount of points as they scored. So this is going to be an offensive juggernaut battle. I suggest you get your popcorn ready. I suggest you call up your friends, call your neighbors. If you're in Sacramento or San Francisco in the Bay Area, you better find out where you're going to watch the game or do what you got to do. I will be watching this game on Amazon Prime, fully pumped up for this big time battle. The Kings are 32-18 in the Western Conference. They are third in the Western Conference with 27 and a half assists, led by Domantas Sabonis, averaging 7.3 assists. The Warriors are 6-9 against the Pacific Division opponents. Now, something tells me the Golden State Warriors are not really playing well against their own division. I mean, if you're the defending NBA champions, you got to play well against your own division, right? Well, they're 3 games below 500, but they are second in the NBA in scoring with 118 and a half points per game while shooting 48% from the field. The Warriors won the last matchup by only 3 points, 116-113 on November 8th, with Stephen Curry scoring 47 points. Now, look, this series has been absolutely close. Absolutely close. When Golden State was at home, they won game 1 back in October 23rd by a score of 130-125, and November 7th with a score of 116-113. The last time they played on November 13th in Sacramento, the Kings took down the Warriors 122-115. So I sense a little bit of a trend here when it comes to this series. Now, if you're a betting man, I bet you might think Sacramento's going to win because Golden State plays badly on the road and they're 9-30. We think we're going to win. I credit you to think that, but remember, this team is also the reigning, defending, undisputed NBA champions. But also remember, they got snipers like Draymond Green. Jonathan Kuminga's been on the come up. Jordan Poole has been absolutely impressive. Dante DiVincenzo, who's been pretty good, and also the greatest shooter that God has ever created in Stephen Curry. I expect number 30 to get his. I expect Stephen Curry to come to Sacramento with a vintage performance. I'm not saying Golden State is going to win because I am going with Sacramento getting the win, but expect Stephen Curry to do his thing. Coming into this game, the Kings are a 500 team in the last 10 games, averaging 123.2 points, 44.5 rebounds, 29 assists, 7 steals, and 3.6 blocks per game, while shooting 48.3% from the field. Their opponents have averaged 118.1 points per game in that span, while the Warriors are averaging 120 points per game in their last 10, with a 6-4 record, with 47 rebounds, 29 assists, 7 steals, and 5 blocks per game while shooting 48% from the field. Their opponents have averaged 116 points, 116 and a half points per game given up. So you might think this is a pretty even matchup. And in some ways it is. But if you look at the top performers, Domantas Sabonis is averaging 19.2 points per game, 12.5 rebounds, and 7 assists for the Kings. De'Aaron Fox, a.k.a. Mr. Fourth Quarter. I know Kyrie Irving is Mr. Fourth Quarter, but I don't give a damn about what Kyrie Irving or the Dallas Mavericks think. I strongly believe that De'Aaron Fox is Mr. Fourth Quarter for a reason. He is averaging 22 points per game over the last 10 games for Sacramento. But the Golden State Warriors, as I said before, have a secret weapon of their own, and that is Stephen Curry. He is averaging 30 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists per game for Golden State. Jordan Poole, who's been really on fire coming off the bench, is averaging 21 points per game over the last 10 games for Golden State. Do not rest on your laurels if you're Sacramento. Do not sleep on the fact that they might be the defending champs, but don't expect a win. Don't expect a win if you're Sacramento. This is going to be one of these games that Sacramento has to work, has to put in the work to get this win. Because if we don't respect the game, if we don't respect the opponent, if we don't respect the fact that Golden State is going to come in here, is going to come into the Golden One Center tomorrow night, and they might be thinking, we need to win this game, because the Western Conference is absolutely wild. As of right now, the Oklahoma City Thunder are about to beat the Utah Jazz. I think it was 114-98 the last time I checked. So the West continues to get absolutely wild. As far as the Kings' injuries, this might be concerning. Trey Lyles, Davion Mitchell, Malik Monk, Domantas Sabonis, Kevin Huerter, Keegan Murray, and De'Aaron Fox are all questionable for this game. Matthew Dellavedova is out of the lineup. I am a little worried if Mike Brown decides, you know what, we should rest our starters. You do not rest your starters for this game. You do not rest your starters, Mike Brown. If you want 50 wins, because that's the goal you set for yourself, right? If you want 50 wins for the Sacramento Kings this season, I suggest you find a way to play your starters. Because this game is important for the city of Sacramento. It is important for the Golden State Warriors to find a way to get their 10th win on the road, because again, they're 9-30. Just because they have a really bad road record does not mean that the Golden State Warriors are going to come in here and probably give the Sacramento Kings a heck of a challenge. So my only key for Golden State is this. You got to try and limit Stephen Curry. I know it might be difficult. Because he is the best shooter in NBA history, but you got to try to limit his points. Klay Thompson, you got to contain him because he's going to get his. Jordan Poole, you need to watch him. Jonathan Kuminga is pretty good on the inside. Dante DiVincenzo is a really good depth player. But the major key that I think is going to win this game, if you're the Sacramento Kings going in, you need to get more shots in the paint more. Now, I said a couple of shows ago, I love the fact that the Sacramento Kings are trying to shoot the free ball. I completely understand and get all of that. But when your 3-point shots are not falling, you should mirror what the Cleveland Cavaliers are doing and try to get the ball a little more inside, trying to get the ball a little bit more towards the paint area. Because the last time that these teams met, the Sacramento Kings had a grand total of 52 points in the paint, while Golden State had 56. They also made 16 threes that were pretty much even. So my key to the game is you need to get in the paint. You need to get in the paint and continue to pass the ball. Continue to use your ball movement. Continue to find space and make a statement. Send the Western Conference a message. Because look, Sacramento is one of these teams that the entire Western Conference is going to sleep on. Because we already clinched a playoff spot for the first time since 2006. And I know what the West is thinking. The Sacramento Kings are a one-and-done basketball team because of their inexperience in the playoffs. Well, guess what? Tomorrow night against Golden State is going to be an opportunity for the Kings to make a statement and say, you know what? We earned the number 3 seed for a reason. We clinched a playoff spot for a reason. We have home court advantage for a reason. And don't be soft at home. Don't be acting like the San Antonio Spurs when Mike Brown said that you guys are soft at home. You need to make a statement tomorrow night. You need to make a dominant statement and protect your home court. If these Kings do that, they will clinch the biggest win of the year against the Golden State Warriors and split the regular season series. And these two teams could go at it in the playoffs in a couple of days. And I am really excited if that matchup comes into fruition. Well, that's going to do it for today's show. Coming up tomorrow, we'll recap tomorrow or Saturday. We will recap what happened between the Golden State Warriors and the Sacramento Kings. You can find Let 'Em Know SK on Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Radio Public, Stitcher, and podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/CLESK. Please rate, review, and spread the word out to your friends about this show. I'm Skylar Weisberg, and until next time, no matter where you go, always be prepared to let them know. Peace.